YieldMax BIGY has been out for about 2 months. How well is it doing? Let's check it out. Hello my friends, this is Legend. Hey, I wanted to do a video on BIGY. We haven't done one in a little bit. There are some people that are in my group here that are in that one, and I'd like to just see how well it's doing. I too am in BIGY. I don't have a huge amount of shares of BIGY, but I am in this one as well. So first of all, let's just go straight to the website of YieldMax here, and you can find BIGY by going to the drop down menu here, and BIGY is under the Target 12, and that's one of the Target 12s. That's the Big 50. So you go straight into there, and that will take you to the BIGY site here. Now, as you can see, they actually have a distribution rate. They did pay out their distribution on January the 10th, and we'll see that when we scroll on down. But the distribution rate being at 13% so far. That's a pretty nice little distribution for the size of this one, and being well diversified. It may slow it down a little bit, but at 13% so far for the year, that's pretty good. All right, so here we are on the distributions. As you can see, it paid out that 51 cent, and it was payable on January the 10th. Now with BIGY, they are looking for a 12% per year as their target. And as you can see before, under the actual heading here, it is a target 12. That means they're shooting for a 12% per year distribution rate. So at a 13%, they are on target and actually beating target. So as I said, they paid out that 51 cent January the 10th. They have a net assets of 7.7 million. Their inception date was November the 20th, and they have a gross expense ratio of 0.99%. So some of their holdings are Apple, AbbVie, Adobe, AMD, and so forth. And I'll pull up the all holdings list here so we can also see which ones they're the heaviest in. So this is the downloaded holdings sheet, and I went ahead and cleaned it up a little bit. I hid some of the columns just to kind of make it a little simpler to look at. I did go ahead and sort it to the weightings. So I've got the weightings from the highest weighting down to the lowest. As you can see here, we have the top 3 here. So the top 3 is NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft. So each one of those is roughly about 10 to 11%, as you can see over here on the side. Then the next 2 that are down below it have 7%, and that's Google and Amazon. Then you have Meta with 5, and you've got Broadcom with 3.5, and then it goes on down from there where you have Lilly for 2, almost 3, and you've got Tesla for about a little over 2.5. You've got Walmart for 2, JP Morgan for 2, and Visa for 1.85, and so forth. So kind of wanted to give you what the top weightings were in BIGY, and it looks like for the top 3, of course, is NVIDIA, Apple, and Microsoft. So now let's go over to the Webull chart so we can check out to see how BIGY has been going so far. All right, so here we are on the Webull chart here, and as you can see, it has been going up and down. But overall, if it came out at that $50 range, it is now sitting at about just a little over $51. So it is holding the price, and that's a good thing. We want to see these either stay flat or go up. If it does go down, hopefully it is a small drop in the stock itself. I prefer that the price stay flat or go up. Even though we are getting paid these distributions. So far, BIGY here is doing well. So if you are already in BIGY, you've seen a little over a 50 cent distribution, and that came out right here at 513. So that's 0.513 distribution. Went ex-dividend January the 8th and paid out on the 10th. So if you're not into this one yet, but if you are looking to get into Biggie, how do you know when's a good time to get in? Well, this is kind of what I've been trying to do lately. I've been usually just buying at the ex-dividend, just simply because that is when the distribution amount comes out of the stock price. So that way you already know you're getting at least a little bit of a discount on the price of the stock by getting it on X date. But I've been adding a little bit extra to that. I've been adding some indicators to help determine when's the good time to get in. So that indicator that I'm using now is the RSI 2. That's Relative Strength Index 2. And that's this yellow line at the bottom of this chart here. And that's what is showing up over here. It says RSI 2. And right now, if you can see, it's at a 74.27 at the close of Friday. So if you are not in it yet, this is the indicator that I've been using to try to get myself a little bit better at timing when to get in. It's not guaranteed, of course, and you may miss the bottom, as that's always a possibility. But by waiting for this RSI 2 to drop below that 10 mark, and let me draw that 10 mark on this graph here just so that you can see that as a reference. Okay, so now I have this purple line here, and that is that 10 on the RSI. And I am watching this yellow line, which is the 2 interval RSI, therefore RSI 2. So when that yellow line drops down below that 10 on the RSI, then to me, that could be a good time to purchase. And that is just my opinion. You do your own research, but I'm just kind of giving you ideas of how I am starting to do this and to see if it will help me to get better buy points. So just in this example here, a good buy point here would be right here as it dropped down below. Looks like maybe that is December the 18th, and you can see it had that big red candle right here. It did drop below that 10, below that purple line. So that yellow crossed that purple line at the end of the day on December the 18th. And it was still underneath it on the 19th. So that again would have been another purchase point for me at the end of the day. And this will move throughout the day. This RSI will move throughout the day as the price changes. But at close, it looks like it did go down and it did end up under that purple line, which is that 10. So this would give you 2 good buy points here. And then it went back up and we didn't cross down below it again until this candle right here on December 31st. It crossed down below it right here. We've got a little bit of a red candle here. And the next day, it looks like it jumped way up here. So it may have closed here at $50.26. But then it opened that next day on January the 2nd. I guess that's not the next day, but over the weekend through the New Year's. But it opened at that 51.45, but then closed at the 50.22. And as you can see at the end of the day, it did cross down below that. So in my RSI2 method here, I would use that as another potential buy point. Then it went back up and then it's gone down again here. It crossed down below that 10 on the RSI, at the RSI2 being at 7.8. So it's below that 10. And as you can see, we got that big red candle here and it dropped way down here. And what did it do the next day? It went up just a little bit, but it's still technically under that 10. I like to purchase on a red day, so a red candle under the 10. Now this one here is still under the 10, but it's a green candle. So I probably would have held off on this one, and it's very possible that it may have popped up slightly above it before close and then fell back down right at close. But then the next day, that's January the 14th, we dropped down below that RSI 2 purple line right here. The yellow line dropped below that purple line again, and that's the 14th of January. And as you can see, you got a red candle, and it did close on that day at $49.20. So that would have been another time to purchase. Now, would it have been a good time to purchase on X date here? This X date being the 8th. So let's look. Well, you've got a red candle up here. This is a red candle, so that's good. We got an X date. That's good. And did it drop below the 10 on the RSI 2? Well, actually, it was headed down, but it did not quite get there. Now, I will say this. If you look on this candle, and this is the candle we're looking at right here for that X date. If you look, it does have that long red wick on the bottom. So it is very possible that that RSI 2 here, even though it closed at 18.54 on the RSI 2, it's very possible when that price was going all the way down here to about that 49.96-ish area, that's the length of that wick, that RSI 2, it's very possible it could have dropped below that 10 at that point, and that would have been a buy. But all I can look at on the chart here is the close of the day. So the close of the day says that it did not go below that 10 on the RSI 2, so I would have held off. Now, if you were watching during the day, it's very possible it did drop below it, and that would have been a good buy time. But what did it do to the next day? Now, you bought it here, even if you bought it at that close, and that close being $50.19. It did not drop below the 10, so if you were just looking at it at the end of the day, you're probably waiting in using the RSI 2 method. But the next day, what did it do? We dropped below the 10 on the RSI 2. It went below that purple line, and you can see that the RSI 2 over there is 7.8, and we have a red candle. So all these signs line up for that may be a good buy point. The next day, we got that green candle going up. Not so much. It is just slightly below the 10, so you could say that's a buy point, but with this green candle, I would have personally waited. And the next day, it dropped back down with a red candle, and that's a purchase. So that's just some of my ideas there about when to buy. And this is kind of what I'm trying to do. I'm just starting this as well. I normally have been just buying on X date, but it's not guaranteed to be down. I was buying it if it was X date and it was green up high or whatever, I was buying it because it was X date. X date, that's a good signal to buy, but I'm taking it one step further, and I'm also looking at the short-term RSI 2 to see if it tells me it's a good time to buy. And again, these are just my opinions, and this is just how I am going to test out to see how well it does. Now, it does not give you buy times all the time, but I don't need to be purchasing the stock every single day anyway, right? So I would like to rather buy it low and then ride it as it goes back up, as you can see just in this chart right here. If you'd have bought it right here, right, and then ride that right back on up. Now, a lot of people will say, well, it's easy to look at a chart in the past and say, well, the best times to buy it would have been right here, right? Well, you don't know that because that next day may not have been this candle green. It could have been a red candle way down here somewhere, right? You don't know. But I'm using that RSI 2, and if it's dropped below that 10, that means that it's an oversold position on the short term, right? Because it's only 2 intervals. So this is very short term on that RSI 2. So that gives you quick indicators to buy. So I think I'm going to wrap it up right there. I appreciate everybody taking the time to watch and listen. And if you don't mind, take a moment and hit that like and subscribe button. It'd be much appreciated. And as always, I am not a financial advisor. This is not financial advice. Please do your own due diligence before you get into any stock plays. And until next time, legend out.